spent most of her life traveling the world.
She grew up in Nigeria, spent some time in Thailand.
Until she found the man of her dreams.
He was in the military.
He's a man of honor. He's a man of discipline.
She was in love.
She moved to the U.S. They got married, and then she got pregnant.
They're building a life together.
But it comes to a horrific end.
Houston police.
We found a dead body in a refrigerator.
There were multiple stab wounds.
That's going to haunt them the rest of their lives.
The gruesome discovery launches a frantic search.
Time is ticking.
The police put out an Amber Alert.
They're worried about that child.
Where's the baby? Who has the baby?
But are the police the only ones searching?
To speak with the federales.
Why flee to Mexico?
He didn't tell me his full name.
He said he feared for his son's life.
She was tied up in an organized criminal ring.
I called the Nigerian Mafia.
December 8, 2014. It's 2 weeks after Thanksgiving in Houston, Texas, a metropolis of just over 7 million people.
Houston is such a big, vast city. You could literally drive 1 hour and still be in Houston.
The good news is if you move here, you can reach out the window and not touch your neighbor's house.
But the property manager of one townhome community is learning that even in this sprawling city, things can still be too close for comfort.
Her phone has been ringing all day.
There were some complaints about a smell.
Neighbors would be walking around, and the smell is getting stronger and stronger. They've had enough.
The source seems to be a townhouse leased to Anastasia Owakina Lambert, an immigrant from Nigeria.
Houston is one of the most diverse cities in the United States.
We have people from Africa, people from Europe, people come from all over the world, and so it does give it more of a multicultural atmosphere.
The manager tries to contact Anna, but the call goes to voicemail.
The manager wonders if maybe Anastasia is out of town.
Did they forget to clean out their fridge? Is it leftover food?
After all, it's only a couple of weeks after Thanksgiving.
That appears to be the case when the manager and maintenance man enter the apartment, trying to track down the source of the smell.
When they try the light switch, it appears that the power has been shut off.
Think about the last time you lost electricity and all that stuff in the freezers and the fridge went bad.
The maintenance man thinks it's a Thanksgiving turkey that had rotted away.
And the smell does appear to be coming from the refrigerator.
27-year-old Anastasia Owakina Lambert had seen a lot of the world before putting down roots in Houston.
Anna came from Nigeria, and she went to Thailand for schooling.
Anna enrolled at a university in Bangkok to get a degree in multimedia journalism.
Her hope and her dream was to be on a television station and a host on her own show.
In 2012, while studying in Thailand, Anna met a former American serviceman named Patrick Lambert online.
Patrick was 10 years older than Anna, and he was living in Hawaii.
He talked a lot about how he was in the military.
The fact that he was a veteran really impressed Anna.
He's a man of honor. He's a man of discipline. He's a man that wants to serve other people because he wants to serve his country.
Patrick was equally impressed with Anna.
Anna was a fantastic person. She was generous, she was kind, she was loving.
And what started as an online friendship quickly became something more.
They fell in love.
She was sure he was the man for her.
She was in love and she was excited.
So when Patrick asked Anastasia to move to America for him, she said yes.
She moves to Hawaii. Not long after arriving in Hawaii, Patrick proposed. and they got married.
She wanted to be married, and she kind of had those traditional values.
Now armed with a green card from U.S. Immigration, Anna was ready to take the world by storm.
The interview, it was perfect.
She'd already had her mind set on her goals because her dream was to have her own TV show.
You have no idea how much I want this job.
She got jobs in the publishing world. She worked for a web hosting company. She was really getting her foot in the door.
But for a while, she still felt like something was missing.
Even though she had her husband, she had goals, she had dreams, she wanted family.
And in 2013, that dream became reality.
She got pregnant with their son.
She was thrilled to become a mother, and they were so excited to start a family.
Soon after their son was born, the family moved to Houston.
Anna and the baby went first.
Houston has a large Nigerian population. So while it may be a foreign city to her, it's also a little bit of home.
On the southwest side of Houston, you do have a lot of stores, churches, eateries in that area that are specific for those who are Nigerian.
It was easy to adjust.
Patrick followed a few months later, and the family was reunited.
They had a 1-year-old son. Anna was hardworking. She has come from Nigeria. She came from nothing. She went to Thailand, got schooling, came to America. I mean, she's living the American dream.
But now, after multiple complaints from her neighbors, Anna's property manager and the maintenance man are investigating a pungent smell coming from her condo.
She tried calling Anna, but her phone went straight to voicemail.
The neighbors were wondering, God, what is going on there?
But inside, there appears to be a simple explanation.
When she tries to turn on the lights, it's clear the power has been shut off.
And the smell is coming from the refrigerator.
He thinks it's a Thanksgiving turkey, and it was a very strong, pungent smell.
It was so rancid that the maintenance man had to put on a mask and some gloves.
Then he opens the door.
They're overcome. It's like a wave hitting.
By December of 2014, it looked as if Nigerian immigrant Anastasia Owakina Lambert was well on her way to realizing the American dream.
Anna, her husband Patrick, and their young son had relocated to Houston.
She's in a new city, making new friends, at her new job.
She was very successful. She's doing really well here.
But now, Anna's property manager and the maintenance man have made a horrifying discovery in her kitchen.
There's a grown woman stuffed in a refrigerator, just as if somebody went deer hunting and put their kill in a fridge to keep it on ice.
But since the apartment's power was cut off, the body was badly decomposed.
The smell of death is not a smell that you can get out of your mind. It's a smell that you'll always remember.
That's gonna haunt them the rest of their lives.
As soon as she recovers her composure, the building manager immediately calls 911.
Houston Fire Medical, what is your emergency?
We found a dead body in a refrigerator.
Although it's a dead body, it doesn't quite register with the 911 operator.
Okay, we can start the CPR and I can tell you what to do until help arrives.
That dead body's been probably there, I don't know how long.
Is it smelly?
Yes.
Okay, we do have help on the way.
The 911 operator dispatches both the coroner and homicide detectives to their location.
When the police arrive, they restore the power, then make sure no one else is inside.
There's not a lot of things out of place. Nothing to show that it was some sort of burglary or a robbery.
There was no forced entry.
But there are blood stains.
Most of the blood appears to be in the master bedroom.
There's some blood stains on the sheets on the bed. We believe that's where she is killed.
How the victim was killed becomes obvious once the coroner's team begins the grim task of removing the body from the refrigerator.
There were multiple stab wounds to the neck. Obviously, that was the cause of her death.
Not 10, not 12, multiple stab wounds to the neck area. Over and over and over again.
It was almost 20 times. That's overkill.
The nature of the wounds may also tell detectives something about the killer's motive.
A knife attack is going to be a very personal attack.
When you stab someone, you are also feeling the effect of the stab in your arm, in your hand, and you can hear it, you can see it, and it's a feeling, right? It is a very close type of heinous crime.
It was a violent killing.
Then, once she was dead, the killer had hidden her body.
The killer took all of the shelves out and placed her in the refrigerator.
Placing the body inside the refrigerator, it preserves it. It slows down the decomposition process.
Or it would have if the power hadn't been shut off.
Eventually, that refrigerator door could not stop the stench.
But is the body in the refrigerator Anastasia? When the detectives turn to the apartment manager, she's not certain.
I can't really say. She was unrecognizable.
Given the condition of the body, it will take DNA or dental records for a positive ID.
However, the manager is able to tell detectives that Anna is married and has a son.
How old is the little boy?
Can't be no more than a year old.
She hadn't realized Anna was married until Patrick showed up several months after moving in.
They moved here from Hawaii, so I guess he was there wrapping things up.
Do you have a number for him?
No, I don't have a number for him, but I do have Anna's number.
Still, there may be a way for the detectives to track down Patrick.
The police put out an Amber Alert with Patrick Lambert and a picture of his son.
They're worried about the welfare of the child, and Patrick is obviously a person that they want to talk to.
In investigations where a spouse is killed, the investigators look at the person that's closest to them, which in this case is going to be the husband.
At this point, they really have no idea how this happened. They just know that there's his body in the fridge.
Could he be dead too? Or is he a suspect?
All the detectives can do is hope that the Amber Alert leads them to Patrick and the missing child.
Amber Alerts, they can generate tips. Sometimes they're false, but occasionally they come through.
But will it pay off this time?
Somebody called in saying they thought they had seen Patrick.
And they give a location.
Not only was Patrick alive, he was at a...
Of 27-year-old Anastasia Oakina Lambert have just received a tip that her husband, Patrick Lambert, is still in the city.
Where was this?
Someone called in response to the Amber Alert and said Anna's husband was at a house a couple of miles away.
So the officers went to that home.
Hey, let's go, man. We got Patrick.
And when the detectives knock on the door, a man answers.
Patrick Lambert?
He looked strikingly like Patrick Lambert.
But it sure isn't Patrick.
He was cooperative. He showed them his ID.
It's simply a case of mistaken identity.
This poor guy happens to match Patrick's description.
He doesn't have a clue who Anna is. He doesn't have an idea of what's gone on.
Have a good night. You too.
It's a disappointing outcome for the detectives.
You almost have to start over and recommit your efforts to see what you can find, but you keep working.
And later that evening, they get another call into the tip line.
And this caller, they're telling the detectives, are you sure you've identified the right person?
Because the caller claims that Anna is still alive.
The detectives are caught off guard by this.
Is it possible the body in the refrigerator isn't Anna?
The medical examiner has yet to confirm the body's identity.
This caller then tells them, well, I work with Anna. She was at work with me yesterday.
When the detectives contact the grocery store where the caller works, They confirm that a woman named Anna Owakina Lambert does work at that store.
But the address that the store has on file for her isn't where Anna lived.
Somebody is using her identity. Obviously, that's suspicious.
Hoping to get to the bottom of it, detectives head to the mystery woman's address.
They speak to her. She's very cooperative.
Her name is Jacqueline Afia.
Like Anna, Jacqueline is also from Nigeria.
Is that how you know Anna?
Sorta. We met in Thailand.
Turns out that Anna and Jacqueline went to the same college in Thailand.
We were both studying communications, and since we're both Nigerian, we just started hanging out.
If you find someone that has the same interests as you, it helps you adjust or to acclimate to wherever you are.
They became close, but had lost touch after graduation.
She went to Hawaii, and I ended up here.
But she says that about a year ago, they reconnected.
They're talking about their family, their life.
She was talking about leaving Hawaii.
She's like, if you come here, I got you, you can stay with me.
So in return, Anna had done a favor for Jacqueline.
Jacqueline couldn't work legally in the U.S., and she was having trouble finding a job.
I was filling out all the applications to get a green card, but it was taking too long, and I was running out of money.
Until Anna came up with a solution.
She says, look, girl, don't worry about the green card thing. You can use my ID.
She's married. She's not really financially in dire straits. However, her friend is.
No, we cannot do that.
You're like my sister, come on.
What if we get caught?
Let me worry about that, okay?
She understands that you have a lot of obstacles in your way, and if I can help you, even if it puts me at risk a little bit, I'm going to do that for you.
So Anna, being the generous person she was, allowed her to use her information to then pose as her and work.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay.
She did not steal someone's identity. It was given to her, willfully.
I just can't believe she's gone.
So you've heard.
About the body? Yes.
But it's what Jacqueline says next that really grabs the detective's attention.
I was afraid something like this would happen.
Why is that?
Anna was trying to get out of the marriage. That's why she moved to Houston.
She was in an abusive relationship.
Afia has just told detectives that the 27-year-old Nigerian immigrant had actually moved to Houston to get away from her abusive husband, Patrick Lambert.
Jacqueline knew things about the marriage.
Jacqueline knew about his temper, knew about his controlling, manipulative way with Anna.
He was always calling her, keeping tabs on where she was and who she was with.
Did she tell you he was abusive?
Well, not at first.
She told the police that in their culture, they keep things to themselves involving family issues.
A lot of times in various communities, we're taught to figure it out. You're in a situation, whatever the situation is, find a way out of it. What happens in this house stays in this house.
But Jacqueline says that Anna had eventually opened up and told her the awful truth about Patrick.
There was abuse, both physical and she alleged sexual abuse while she was in Hawaii.
That's when I told her to leave him.
And she took your advice?
No, not at first.
When you're in an abusive relationship, and people always ask, why didn't she just leave? Well, that's easier said than done because they feel like they can't get out. And that's because that person has so much control over them.
But eventually, Anna had called Jacqueline and said she was ready to leave Patrick.
So she flew over here to Houston.
Jacqueline helped her get back on her feet and got her involved with the local women's shelter.
The Houston Area Women's Center is very important, very integral to the community, and they help domestic violence victims.
You're able to tap into these resources that the Houston Women's Center has to get a job, to get vouchers, to get food, to get housing.
They even help her with utilities.
She was doing so great. She had a job, she had her own place.
But then, after a few months of freedom, Patrick was back in her life.
The control that he had over Anna was very obvious because she allowed him to come back.
I told her it was a bad idea, but she would not listen.
She wanted to make the marriage work because of the baby.
She probably was holding out hope that he would change.
When's the last time you saw Anna?
I haven't seen or spoken to her since September.
Jacqueline had been trying to Facebook Messenger and getting strange responses.
What do you mean by strange?
Well, they didn't sound like her.
You think someone was using her account?
Yeah, I think so.
And Jacqueline has a pretty good guess as to who was impersonating Anna and why.
She told him she wouldn't be surprised if Patrick was behind her murder. And after hearing her story, detectives were inclined to agree.
After talking to Jacqueline, the investigators have their first suspect.
At that point, there was really only one person, that was Patrick Lambert.
With no leads on his whereabouts, the following morning, detectives follow up with the Women's Center.
The Houston Area Women's Center had an intake sheet that kind of spelled out why she was moving to Houston, why she needed shelter, and talked a lot about her abuse.
Anna has revealed that Patrick's been violent in the past. He's threatened to kill her. She's doing everything that we ask people to do in domestic violence situations. She's asking for help, and she's fleeing the situation.
But like many women in abusive relationships, she allowed her abuser back into her life.
Some people think they want help, but they may not be fully ready to get the help that they really need.
She stopped coming in for her counseling sessions, and she stopped returning my calls.
The Houston Area Women's Center is trying to locate her, but they figured she just left with Patrick because that's often what happens in domestic violence situations.
And by late November, the center stopped paying for Anna's utilities.
The Houston Area Women's Center required Anna to send them the bills to pay for them. So all utilities are shut off November 21st.
Roughly 2 weeks later, neighbors started complaining about a smell coming from her home.
Between Jacqueline and Anna's caseworker, the detectives are convinced that the woman in the fridge is Anna, and that Patrick is the one who put her there.
They sure knew they needed to find Patrick, and find him quick. Time is ticking.
But with no new leads, detectives focus on building up their case against Patrick, starting with a search through their database.
They found out on September 2nd, there was a police report where Patrick had threatened Anna with a knife.
Nothing came of that.
She asked the police not to press charges.
Also alarming is what they don't find.
There's no record of Patrick ever being in the military.
Everything about this guy is a red flag.
Next, the detectives reach out to a woman Anna's caseworker had mentioned was one of her close friends at the women's shelter.
What I want to do now is just talk to you a little bit about everything, okay?
Oh, okay.
Did she ever tell you about Patrick?
Yeah, she told me about some stuff that happened in Hawaii. I heard from another friend that he had threatened her. I didn't know that, but she just told me that they used to fight a lot, and her mom sent her like $1,000 for her plane ticket to leave Hawaii.
She had a good support system.
Detectives also talk to Anna's employer, who has only good things to say about her.
She was hardworking. They really thought she was a great employee.
But her boss says the last contact he had with Anna, a Skype message, had made him suspicious.
I don't think that was her, honestly.
The message contained multiple questions about a project that she had already finished.
That's very strange. Yeah.
Yeah, really strange. At the beginning of September, her sister in Germany asked me to get in contact with Anna because she wasn't contacting the family. So I sent her a message on Skype and said, contact the family. And I just thought she'd been really, really busy, you know.
But then he got another strange message, this time from Patrick.
He sends an email on September 28th saying that Anna had a family emergency and that she was going to leave the country and that she wasn't coming into work.
The detectives know it was a lie.
Anna wasn't out of the country. She was in the refrigerator.
But where are Patrick and the couple's one-year-old son?
It can be frustrating having nothing.
Old homicide detectives used to say, if God wants the case solved, we're gonna get that magic phone call.
And luckily, it doesn't take long.
On December 12th, 4 days after they found Anna's body, the detectives finally get a lead.
Homicide.
The caller is a woman named Veronica Castillo.
Veronica is in Querétaro, Mexico. It's not a very populated area in Mexico. It's much deeper in Mexico than you would think somebody would travel.
But according to Veronica, there was someone new in town.
He told her his name was Patricio Santiago.
I know something was odd about him because he said, don't ask me nothing about my past.
The tip that her missing husband, 38-year-old Patrick Lambert, may be living on the lam in Mexico.
When did you first see him in Mexico?
I think it was the end of September and beginning of October.
Which is right around the time police believe the murder took place.
And unlike earlier sightings, the detectives have reason to believe this isn't a case of mistaken identity.
According to Veronica, Patrick has a little boy with him.
In the beginning, when I started talking to him, I didn't know he had a baby. Suddenly, he just did it to me like, yeah, I'm a father, and that's going to take care of my baby. But he never told me about the baby before.
Veronica said she actually had played with the son some.
She'd also become very close with Patricio.
They end up having a sexual relationship.
Your wife gets murdered in Houston in September, and already by November, you're dating this new woman.
And by then, there was no doubt about Patricio's real identity.
Patrick trusted her enough that he revealed his name to her.
He told her he was Patrick Lambert.
Eventually, he even told her a little about his past. Not that Veronica believed much of it.
Patrick said he was married, but that he and his wife were separated.
He gave a lot of weird stories about how Anna was off fighting a war in Africa.
Something was like strange about him, and I just kind of ignored it.
She figured he was just telling tall tales.
However, there were other things about Patrick that were harder for her to ignore.
He had a really bad attitude sometimes.
Well, did he ever get violent with you? Did he ever hurt you?
No, not really. Not physically, but on the, when sometimes you feel that the person is not, like, all good.
She says he has a bad temper.
But Veronica says the worst thing about Patrick was the way he treated his son.
She says he would often leave the 1-year-old at home alone.
I was like, well, we should take the baby. How can we leave him just there alone by himself? And he was like, don't worry about it. He's going to be okay. Things like that.
She knew something's really, really off. Something's really wrong here.
So she'd done a little digging on Patrick.
When something doesn't add up, we tend to investigate.
And it didn't take long in this world of the internet for her to find the story about Anna, for her to find the Amber Alert, and more importantly, to see the photo of Patrick Lambert.
At that point, the bells would start going off.
There is a child involved. There's a woman that's been murdered. There's a man on the run.
Once she knew the whole story, Veronica contacted the Houston police.
Veronica did the right thing.
And after talking to Veronica Castillo, the detectives make a call of their own to the Mexican Federal Police.
The federales were very cooperative with Houston Police Department.
The Mexican authorities are able to locate Patrick and place him in custody.
While awaiting the transfer of both Patrick and his son back to the States, the Houston police get a call from the property manager at Anna and Patrick's townhome.
By this point, detectives have released the crime scene, and the manager is getting the home ready to be re-rented.
Everything's been cleared out. A cleaning crew's in there with bleach, scrubbing walls, repainting, trying to make it as fresh as possible.
And in the bedroom closet, they find something police had overlooked.
The cleaning crew finds a knife. Not just one knife, actually 2 knives.
Could either of these knives be the murder weapon?
The crime scene folks get back out there, and they're able to preserve them.
The knives are still at the crime lab when Patrick, fresh off the plane from Mexico, finally sits down with the detectives in Houston.
Since you were brought in here by the customs people and everything, you know, I said we got a lot of rules. Okay, so I'm going to read you your rights.
They then read him his Miranda warnings, but she waives.
He waives his right to remain silent because, according to Patrick, he has nothing to hide.
He stated that he had been in Mexico since August, before the time of the murder.
The detectives know that's a lie.
We have witnesses that saw him here in September. In fact, there was a police report where they spoke to him in September where he threatened her with a knife.
Although for a moment, detectives play along.
Did you take a bus down there, or did you drive down there, or what?
But it's why he supposedly fled to Mexico that takes the detectives by surprise.
He said he feared for his son's life and his life.
Because according to Patrick, Anna was mixed up with some very bad people.
I call them the Nigerian mafia.
Patrick Lambert has told detectives investigating the murder of his wife, Anastasia Owakina Lambert, that the 27-year-old Nigerian immigrant had connections to criminals from her home country.
She does things to survive, you know, so if that's what she had to do to hustle, but I said it wouldn't end up good, or it wouldn't, you know, it would end up being a problem.
Patrick tells a tale of how he had to flee with his son from Houston because the Nigerian mafia had a hit out for his wife.
You think she owed somebody money? Definitely. Do you think that was the reason for her being killed? I mean, I don't know, but she had to take care of family back in Nigeria. And is that a Nigerian thing, the way they killed her, to make a statement?
Patrick says he doesn't know.
He said that she was tied up in these things, that she was doing all this criminal behavior.
But the detectives don't believe a word of it.
I know you killed Anna. I know you did. Been doing this a very long time.
The story was so ridiculous.
We found absolutely no ties to her having any sort of criminal behavior whatsoever, much less ties to an organized criminal ring.
If Patrick was so concerned, and it was truly a Nigerian mafia hit, why wouldn't he reach out to the police? Why flee to Mexico?
The detectives have heard enough.
Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison, or do you want a chance to have a life?
He immediately stops talking and asks for a lawyer, and the interview ends.
At the end of the interview, the detectives arrest Patrick for first-degree murder.
Between his history of abuse and the fact that he fled to Mexico, detectives believe they have a strong case.
But when the case goes to trial in October of 2019, Patrick has one more surprise for everyone.
The day jury selection begins, he decides he's going to represent himself.
Him serving it as his own counsel was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
What it tells me about Patrick is he's controlling, he's manipulative.
He truly believed he could manipulate the men and women on that jury, the facts of the case, because he believed he was charming. He was the one that could convince anyone.
The prosecutors argue that Patrick's manipulation directly led to Anna's murder.
He probably wanted someone who would just stay at home and cater to his every need. And him trying to control her, it just didn't work.
You have someone that comes from Africa, and now she's in the United States. What that did for Anna was it gave her a chance to see women with a lot of autonomy, to see women who were independent. That woke something up inside of Anna that her husband probably did not like.
She became more wary of him, and she realized that she had become successful on her own. She didn't need him. She didn't need him in her life anymore.
She just wanted what you and I want. She wanted a fresh start. She wanted to see her son grow up. She wanted her freedom.
She had, we believe, started to distance herself from Patrick, and we think that's what ultimately led to the murder.
Because by late September of 2014, Patrick had become aware that he was losing control of Anna.
His last bit of control was to take her life.
The police and the prosecutors believe that the murder occurred on the 27th.
September 26th is the last time anyone sees Anna.
Then on the 28th, he had the nerve to send an email to her employer saying that she had gone home to Nigeria for a family emergency.
We don't know exactly what transpired. I would imagine she was telling him, I'm divorcing you, I'm getting out of this relationship, and he wasn't gonna have it. He took out a knife and brutally murdered her, stabbing her 20 times.
He didn't stab her once and was like, oh no, I don't know what to do. He stabbed her so many times.
This person is in a rage state. That was what Anna felt in the last few moments of her life.
And when the rage subsided, he tried to hide what he'd done.
He took all the shelving out, and he put her body in a position where she would fit in the refrigerator. And 2 days later, he's on a bus to Mexico with the son. He bought the tickets on September 29th. He gets on a bus September 30th. And by October 1st, he's already got a place in Mexico. And he meets Veronica, and they have a romantic relationship.
When it's the defense's turn, Patrick remains adamant that he wasn't the one who killed Anna.
Patrick didn't seem to really acknowledge that he was in trouble, and so he's asking very irrelevant questions about things like the Nigerian mafia and the Ivory Coast mafia.
He challenged officers on what they didn't do. Did the officers follow up on the Nigerian mafia claim?
He became very combative, very aggressive.
When the case goes to the jury, the prosecutors are confident of a conviction.
You would think this is a slam dunk. They're gonna come back in 5 minutes and find this clown guilty.
But an hour passes, and then 2, and 3.
What in the world is going on? Do they believe his story? What is happening in that jury room?
Finally, after 4 days of deliberation, the jury reaches its verdict.
Patrick was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison.
Under state law, he's eligible for parole after 30 years.
But he'll only spend a few days behind bars.
Shortly after he went to prison, he killed himself.
He took his own life because that was his last part of his life that he could control. No one's gonna tell me what to do.
He was like, I control my own life, and so he took it.
A lot of people still have the feeling of eye for an eye. But even that doesn't feel like justice because the victim's family, friends, and those that were close to her still feel the pain for the rest of their lives.
There are many victims, but the most prominent one that stands out in my view is the child.
Neither one of his parents are there to see him grow up.
And since Anna's family is in Nigeria, the little boy is being raised by Patrick's relatives.
He is an American citizen, and so we can't just ship him off to Nigeria.
Which means that memories are all Anna's family has to remember her by.
They lost her twice because she left home to lose her again, but at someone else's hands. That's devastating.
Anna's situation is just so tragic because she was on the right path. She was on the path to freedom, to becoming the amazing woman she had the potential to be.
In the heart of Shreveport, Louisiana, an unthinkable murder rocks the community to its core. She was murdered while the kids were in the house.
What am I looking at?
A hard-boiled detective with a personal connection to death.
My mother was murdered, so I knew the kid was gonna go through.
There was more than one?
I think 2.
the hunt for a pair of ruthless killers.
One of them said he wanted to burn and shoot me.
Leads the investigation on a winding trail.
He kicked in the front door.
Full of twists, turns,
If you recognize a man, just point.
and deception.
Freddie told me he did.
He wanted revenge. When you have a woman who's done everything kind for you, and then you end up taking her life, there aren't any words for that.
It's a rude awakening to realize that there really is evil out there, truly evil.
On October 17, 2010, in Omaha, Nebraska, a woman named Cynthia Jenkins begins worrying about her sister, college professor Karen Jenkins.
The day... I'm your host, Mara Escampo.
Karen was very peaceful, very caring. She was a believer that you don't do any harm. It just haunts me. There's no sense in it at all.
They decided to super glue her nostrils and put paper towels in her mouth so that no breath will ever be able to leave her body again.
She was upset. She wasn't going to be able to keep taking things from the family the way that she had been. So she wanted revenge. When you have a woman who's done everything kind for you, and then you end up taking her life, there aren't any words for that.
It's a rude awakening to realize that there really is evil out there, truly evil.
On October 17, 2010, in Omaha, Nebraska, a woman named Cynthia Jenkins begins worrying about her sister, college professor Karen Jenkins.
The day that Karen went missing, me and Chris, is my son, were down at OIC, which is a neighborhood community organization, and we were volunteering. He was like, "Have you talked to Karen today?" And I was like, "No." No, we talk every day, 2-3 times a day. He was like, "She's not answering the phone." He was supposed to meet with her so that they could go up to the bar and do some work.
In addition to teaching, Karen is also a landlord, so Cynthia and her son Chris head to her latest renovation project, a mixed-use building with apartments, retail, and a bar.
Her car was there, and the gate was kind of open, and I'm like, this is weird. And I said, she must be inside, you know? I was like, maybe she can't find her phone or something like that. And I go into the building, and we go through the building, you know, top to bottom, and then we come back out. Couldn't find her. It's like, where's she at? She must have gone with somebody somewhere. But I still don't understand why she didn't lock that front gate.
By the following morning, all of Karen's loved ones knew something was terribly wrong.
And I received a call from Cynthia. I assumed it was just a check-in and chat a little call, which I frequently had from her. But her first words were, "We can't find Karen."
Karen had never not taken one of my phone calls. And so having called her several times and her
Dr. Jenkins didn't show up to take her brother to work. It was like she completely vanished in thin air.
Karen Jenkins was born in Omaha, Nebraska on March 4th, 1962. She was one of 6 children, raised under traumatic circumstances.
We grew up in a very I'm going to call it battle-ridden family. Daddy was an alcoholic, but he was also, you know, wife beater and all that, so he would beat Mama, and he'd beat the hell out of Karen and everybody else that was in the family. Did harm to you.
Karen was sparkling. She always had a smile on her face, a glint in her eye, sense of humor, and was always focused on other people and her concern and compassion for them.
She really tried to see the good in everyone. She always wanted everyone to live out their full potential.
Karen realized her own potential through academics, earning a bachelor's degree from Creighton University and a master's degree at the University of Nebraska.
Karen was smart. She really believed education was the way to get you to where you want to be. Whatever she did, she put 110% into it.
Through it all, her mother was a constant source of inspiration.
I was a hard-working woman, you know, 30-something years as a teacher and, you know, working with kids. And then when she started going into renovating houses, Karen and I spent years working with Mom on houses. She was amazing.
Cynthia's mother believed strongly in investing in real estate. She felt like that was a good promise for the future.
Karen also had a passion for helping her community. In her 40s, she moved to Florida to pursue a PhD in conflict resolution.
It is amazing to me with Karen how growing up in an alcoholic home with the different problems, the violence that you see, how she chose a field of conflict negotiation. But it wasn't just that, it permeated her whole life with all of her relationships. She was bringing peace to everyone.
She was involved in places like Nigeria, Kenya, the Congo. She helped women with rights, voting rights. She helped rape victims. She really just spread a positive message everywhere she went.
But when her mother's health began to fail, Karen returned to Omaha to help care for her. She became a professor at a local college and partnered with her sister to improve the neighborhood they grew up in.
She really wanted to see this community become vibrant, the way that it used to be years ago, and very strong. And so she really felt that buying the properties in that community and helping to fix it up and provide places for people to live was very important.
One of the dreams that Cynthia and Karen had was to establish a jazz bar. They felt like jazz was a cultural heritage that they wanted to share with their community.
It was fun being on that uplift and doing things that would have made my mama proud, you know, doing everything that she did. It was a good time.
Above the bar were apartments that Karen and Cynthia rented to families in need.
The people that she would rent to oftentimes were having very difficult times financially, and she would work with them. She would reduce the rent. She would also try to help them to find ways that they could get jobs so that they could make money. She really tried to not just be a landlord, but to actually help these people who, you know, were her tenants.
For Karen and Cynthia as well, it was never about establishing a real estate empire where they would become rich and live off the rents that they were bringing in. It really was more about creating spaces for people they knew in their community who were struggling to find homes and establish some stability within the community.
But just as Karen was starting to make a difference, she suddenly disappeared. Now, her sister Cynthia is filing a missing person report with Omaha police. But they tell her it's too soon to worry.
The officers took a missing person report at that time. In a situation where an adult goes missing, there's a lot of times where that adult just doesn't want to be found, so you have to take that into consideration as well. Maybe she just wanted to leave town for a while. Maybe she took a vacation.
For the family, the investigation isn't moving fast enough.
She wasn't the type of person that would just leave without letting someone know. She was very caring. She was a responsible person.
You see her car's there. She's not answering her phone. Something is wrong somewhere. So then that's when we said, okay, I guess we gotta do something. The next day is when we started our search.
Chevy Silverado.
48-year-old college professor Dr. Karen Jenkins has been missing for almost 24 hours. But while Omaha police begin their investigation, her family decides to take matters into their own hands.
We had flyers made. We had organized the search. There was teams, everybody went out different directions.
There were people that came out from the university, people that came out from the school, people that came out from the neighborhood. I mean, it was a mass of people from the city that came to find her because she had done so much for various people over her lifetime.
Despite the community's efforts, no one is able to find her. And the Omaha police step up their investigation.
Officers checked the entire building because this building that she owned had multiple businesses. There was the bar, the barber shop, rental properties, the apartments. There was a detail shop. It appeared that Karen was just gone.
Karen's sister Cynthia says the last time they spoke, Karen said she was on her way to meet a potential apartment tenant. No one has seen her since then.
Investigators wanted to know if Karen had any conflict with her renters, which in this case was a really tough question because it was almost par for the course for what she did. She rented to a lot of undesirable renters, people that often couldn't pay their rent.
When police speak to the tenants, they discover Karen did recently have some trouble with a renter nicknamed Biscuit.
One of the apartments was occupied by a party that was maybe considered a hoarder and maybe had a little bit of a problem with insects. And I think a lot of the residents wanted us to look into that to make sure that there wasn't an issue between him and Karen.
Biscuit claims he has an alibi for the 17th, and sources confirm his story.
Biscuit wasn't that bad. I mean, he was definitely somebody that wasn't going to clean up, you know. I mean, I never would have suspected Biscuit, even though, you know, my brother suspected everybody. And I'm just like, Biscuit ain't gonna do anything.
As investigators speak with each of Karen's tenants, they all seem to love her. One tenant who had also fallen on hard times was especially appreciative of Karen. A single mother named Monique Lee.
When Karen would talk about Monique to me, she would talk to me about feeling sorry for her and trying to help her and do things for her and her kids.
She hired Monique to do side jobs, clean her house, do her hair. She became kind of a friend.
As soon as Monique hears Karen is missing, she joins in the search. While the hunt continues, investigators shift their focus to the mysterious potential tenant Karen was supposed to meet the day she disappeared.
One of the main items that we did collect was video recording from a business that was across the street from the bar that Karen owned. In the building, the camera showed the front of the bar, the parking lot where Karen's car was located, and a portion of the sidewalk out in front of the bar. This video was reviewed, and during that review, Karen was seen pulling up in her car. She was seen on the video walking to the bar, going into the bar and out of the bar.
In the surveillance that the police uncovered, you can see a man pacing back and forth in front of that same apartment building. And it clearly shows Karen letting him to the building.
The image is grainy, but when detectives show it to Karen's loved ones, they're not sure if it's the potential tenant. And it actually looks like a man she recently started dating, named Daryl.
Karen was in a relationship, but not a lot of people knew about it, just really her inner circle. She was super private about it, didn't give a lot of detail. Only her really close family members and friends knew about this man.
According to them, Karen is in love with Daryl. But police know too well that when a woman disappears, her romantic partner is often to blame.
With any murder or domestic dispute, a significant other will always be one of the prime suspects.
Get ready to say those 5 little words. We're talking about
Rooty Tooty, fresh and fruity.
Yep, it's back for a limited time. The $6 Rooty Tooty Fresh and Fruity Combo. 2 eggs, 2 bacon strips, and 2 fruit top pancakes. Only from IHOP.
It's the most wonderful time. Get fast relief of your worst allergy symptoms, including nasal congestion with powerful Claritin D. So you can breathe better, feel the clarity, and make today the most wonderful time of the year. Claritin D.
Who's on it with Jardians?
Free. Jump. We're the ones getting it done.
We're managing type 2 diabetes and heart risk.
We're on it with Jardians.
Join the growing number of people who are on it with the...
Several days into the search for missing professor and real estate businesswoman Karen Jenkins, Omaha police have a potential lead. Karen's new boyfriend, Daryl.
We called up all kind of people trying to figure out if she was with them, tried to track down Daryl.
When investigators finally reach Daryl, he says he has no idea where Karen is, and that wasn't him in the surveillance footage.
So it turns out he was nowhere near Omaha at the time Karen went missing.
And he was refereeing a football game out in California.
Karen's family knows that without any new developments, the likelihood of finding Karen grows smaller every day, but they refuse to give up the search. Then, on October 23rd, their lives are changed forever.
About a week after Dr. Jenkins goes missing, her family meets up at the business, trying to strategize and see how they can help find her. And while this is going on, they hear screaming outside. Someone found a woman's body at the house across the street.
Investigators quickly arrive on the scene.
A man and a child were walking and they found her. She was underneath the house with a brush on top of her, like a piece of trash.
Our crime lab comes and they document and record the scene before anything is touched. So that was all done prior to us moving the body. After all of the debris was taken back, we were able to actually roll the body over because it was face down to start. It appeared from the condition of the body that it had not been outside in the elements for a long period of time. That week it was unseasonably warm, so knowing if a body was outside for a week, I would have expected more decomposition. We knew that the house had been searched prior, and this area had been searched, and there was no bodies at that time. So we were kind of under the assumption that not only was it a secondary scene, but that the body had not been out in the elements for the week.
But they aren't able to confirm it's Karen. The only thing that's certain is that the victim didn't die of natural causes.
I was able to see that there was some form of tissue or paper towel or something stuffed in the mouth area, and there were visible wounds on the facial area as well.
After photographing the scene, police send the body to Douglas County Hospital for an autopsy.
As part of the identification of the victim, we contacted a forensic doctor to compare the x-rays that were taken from the victim to the known dental records of Karen Jenkins.
We all obviously feared the worst at that point. The wait was several hours before we got confirmation.
The records confirm it's Karen. The medical examiner also finds ligature marks around Karen's neck, which indicate she was strangled. And that's not all. They find evidence that the perpetrator had gone to bizarre lengths after the strangulation.
During the autopsy, the medical examiner found that Karen's nose had been superglued. She had paper towels stuffed in her mouth, and then her mouth was superglued. It was almost like overkill, as if the person was trying to make sure the job was done and Karen was gone.
In all my time as a police officer or as a detective, I have never seen a situation where nostrils and a mouth were superglued.
Karen's loved ones are anguished by the news.
They didn't let Cynthia see the body. It's just hard to describe. I have had, several people in my life who have passed away, but this is just different. That is an evil that you don't ever want anyone in your life to encounter. I'm sorry.
The case has officially become a homicide. Now the question is who killed Karen and why? With her apartment tenants seemingly cleared, investigators look deeper into the renters of the retail portion of the building.
That was a lucrative corner. And we thought since she was woman and she was Black, we thought maybe it could have been someone that was jealous.
Investigators are particularly interested in the detail shop connected to the building. According to Cynthia, Karen had always found their behavior suspicious.
The back door to the bar led to the back door to the detail shop. So it's like maybe she went out to dump some trash, saw something she wasn't supposed to see, and they dragged her in there.
Omaha detectives are investigating the murder of Karen Jenkins, whose body was found a week after she disappeared. An autopsy has confirmed she was strangled, and her body likely stored in a different location before it was found. Police now suspect it might have been the auto body shop connected to Karen's building.
At some point, somebody determined, hey, let's get this cadaver dog. On the off chance that she was stored somewhere, this dog would pick up on a scent.
But unfortunately, the dog doesn't pick up any traces of the body. After hitting another dead end, investigators re-examine the interviews they've conducted so far, as well as anyone connected to Karen Jenkins. It pays off with a surprising lead.
Police find out that one of Karen's residents had just got evicted 3 days before she went missing.
The resident turns out to be someone police have already spoken to, 27-year-old Monique Lee. A week earlier, Monique had nothing but good things to say about Karen. Now, that all seems to have changed.
Police decide to question Monique. She didn't seem concerned at all that Karen was deceased. She was just angry. She said that the Jenkins family was trying to rip her off and that she had actually paid the money she owed. That was a red flag because everyone who knew Dr. Jenkins knew she was not the type of person that would take money from someone and then evict them. She has a pretty decent alibi. She says that she was volunteering at a community center on the day that Dr. Jenkins went missing.
But when they do some digging, her alibi doesn't hold up.
When police talked to the community center, they said they had no record of Monique being there that day. So the question is, why would she lie?
To find the answer, investigators take a closer look at this single mother.
Monique Lee was born in 1983 in Omaha. Monique and her two siblings, Gary and Chandra, were put in the foster care system. Although they were able to stay together, they didn't go from a bad situation to something better. The new home they were in, and they didn't do much to raise them.
A difficult childhood was only one of Monique's many problems, however.
Monique was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia at a very young age. She had a documented history of erratic behavior.
Monique dropped out of high school and struggled to support herself for many years. Determined to turn her life around, she enrolled in a work program in 2010, which connected her to Karen and Cynthia Jenkins as landlords.
We met Monique when she came to rent one of the apartments upstairs of the bar. And she wrote down that she was single and, just needed an apartment. And she was able to pay the, first month's rent.
At the time, Karen and Cynthia were more than happy to help her, especially after they learned she had 2 children to care for.
She said she had to take her sister's kids in because her sister wasn't, able to take care of them. She was just a young woman that needed support, she wanted to go back to school and work with other youth in order to, help them get through the system. I would pick up Monique from school, and take her to wherever she needed.
But their generosity soon backfired.
Monique was working odd jobs for Karen and Cynthia, and that's when they discovered that she was stealing.
I liked her, and I thought she was cool. It was just my money came up missing twice. And that's when I said, nope, 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 nope.
It was at that point that enough was enough kind of thing, and then she was told that she needed to pay the rent or she was going to be evicted, and Monique never paid the rent.
Investigators wonder if this time Monique had been angry enough to commit murder.
When Karen and I, quote unquote, cut her off, that made her mad. Incensed that 2 black women would put her out.
Look at that preacher. Hey, let me help you.
Thanks, Tony.
You better dig in. To the greatest mom in the world.
Fact has finally emerged for the murder of 48-year-old Karen Jenkins. Police believe her tenant, Monique Lee, killed her because she was being evicted. But they'll need more than theories to prove she did it.
The only clue investigators had was that Dr. Jenkins was on her way to meet up with a potential renter. So they had to pull phone records and figure out who this potential renter was.
To their surprise, the last few calls Karen received weren't from Monique, but from her younger brother, 19-year-old Gary Lee.
So on November 8th of 2010, I was able to make contact with Gary Lee and asked him to come down for an interview. We just wanted to find out what he knew.
So first of all, just tell me this. What would you characterize your relationship with Karen as? And we're talking about Karen Jenkins. Did you know her? What would you characterize your?
I know her. I just know she was a landlord, and then I was trying to talk to her to get the building, to get number 2, because it was open and she was trying to rent it out. That's what I was talking to her for. I never met her. I never seen her.
He fit in the description of the man seen in that surveillance footage, prompting them to ask Gary about his whereabouts.
He made up an excuse as to why he was walking around outside. At that point, I knew it was Gary on the video. I was really getting the feeling that I had my man.
Okay. Direct question, did you kill him?
No.
Okay.
Just because I'm on the doggone video don't mean I was doing that.
Gary realizes he's already said too much and refuses to cooperate any further. Police have no evidence to hold him on, so he's free to go, but not before they collect a DNA sample. Several weeks later, DNA collected from Karen's body comes back as a match.
On December 28th of 2010, I knew that I had DNA evidence that linked Gary to Karen. I knew that Gary Lee had contacted Karen by telephone. I knew that Gary Lee had been lying to me about those contacts. I had Gary Lee on video by his own admission. And at that point, I was ready to bring him in again.
This time, Gary admits to being involved and gives his version of events.
It all started a couple of days earlier when Monique got the eviction notice. It made Monique very upset. It made her very mad and angry. And she kept stating that she paid Dr. Jenkins everything that she owed her, but Dr. Jenkins still wanted her out.
All I was supposed to do was just get her to the building. That's all I was supposed to do.
Gary explained to the police that Monique told him that she kept trying to talk to Dr. Jenkins, but Dr. Jenkins didn't want to talk back to her.
All right,
So if he could just pretty much act like he wanted to be a tenant, she can step in and actually have a conversation with her.
The woman opened the door. Monique come out of nowhere, and then just fell like she tackled her and fell on her.
During the struggle, it might not have been as easy as they thought it was. So they had to resort to using whatever was around. At some point during the altercation, Monique grabbed the vacuum cord and began to strangle Dr. Jenkins.
He was kicking her feet on the floor. And Monique told me come here and to hold her feet. And Monique was just laying on top of her.
Gary is so confused. He has his sister Monique on one end, just trying to strangle a woman, telling him to hold their legs to help her out. And then he has the Dr. Karen Jenkins also yelling for help. Ultimately, Gary probably makes one of the worst decisions of his life, and he chooses to help his sister.
I heard her gasping for air, and then she stopped moving.
Not knowing whether Dr. Jenkins is completely dead or not, they decided to super glue her nostrils and put paper towels in her mouth.
Once she was sure Karen was dead, Monique told Gary to help her hide the body.
They wrapped it in a blanket and placed it into what Gary described as a barrel. He stated they took the barrel and put it in the closet in Monique Lee's apartment.
You go through life thinking that people are basically good and, all of that kind of stuff and everything, but it's a rude awakening to realize that there really is evil out there, truly evil.
Despite his actions, Gary insists he never wanted to hurt Karen. He claims he was manipulated by his sister and agrees to testify against her. When police arrest Monique, she denies everything. According to her, Gary made it all up.
I mean, I had no animosity with this lady whatsoever. Every work that I was doing for her, she was taking all of that off my rent. So why am I going to have animosity off somebody that's saving money in my pocket?
As we got into the interview, I could see Monique's demeanor change. She became very agitated. She began to scratch her head rapidly. She began to move around in her seat. She began to stutter. She really went to a different level that I could tell I now knew I had the murder.
With the Venture X card from Capital One, you earn 2 times miles.
2 months after Karen Jenkins was brutally murdered in her apartment building, Omaha police have charged 2 siblings with the crime, Monique and Gary Lee. Gary has already confessed, but Monique insists she's innocent. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't appear to realize the calls she makes from jail are being recorded.
While in prison, Monique had a phone call with her sister. On this phone call, she actually admitted to strangling and murdering Dr. Jenkins.
She actually admitted to using a vacuum cleaner cord and wrapping it around Karen's neck and strangling her. She admitted to gluing Karen's nose shut and putting paper in her mouth because she wanted to make sure she wasn't breathing anymore.
According to Monique, however, she didn't kill Karen out of anger, but to protect her children. And her explanation why comes out of left field.
She kept stating that it was a man named Black that was actually threatening to kill her children if she did not kill Dr. Jenkins.
She had talked about a Mr. Black, wanted the property and wanted her to get Karen out of the way.
To prosecutors, it sounds more like an attempt to set up a legal defense for her trial.
And we were never able to find any evidence that linked that. She would not provide a name that would lead us to another suspect.
We believed, based on the evidence, that this was really about her being evicted and needing a place to stay. I really think she thought that getting rid of the landlord would allow her just to have a free place to live.
In October 2011, Gary pleads guilty and agrees to testify against his sister in exchange for a 20-year prison sentence. The court finds Monique Lee fit to stand trial, and a few weeks later, her murder trial begins. It unfolds much the way prosecutors expected.
The defense team claims that Monique was not guilty for a reason of insanity. They claim that she was having a schizophrenic episode during the time that she murdered Dr. Jenkins.
Monique had some mental health issues, as most people who are able to kill someone have. But I think the defense was really about insanity, that she didn't know right from wrong.
Prosecutors argue the evidence proves otherwise.
The fact that there was super glue there was a barrel to move her. All those things led me to believe that this was a premeditated act.
She was very much aware of what she was doing. It wasn't something that was temporary insanity. This was something that was planned out.
But the case soon takes an unexpected turn.
At this point of the trial, prosecutors are feeling like they have this thing won, everything's going smoothly, but there was a psychologist that actually took the stand that may have threw a wrench in the whole case. He contradicted himself from some of the things he said on his previous statements.
We're all sitting there, going, what? And after, a lot of confusion and back and forth and conferencing and everything, the judge declared a mistrial. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard of.
The following year, in September 2012, Monique's second trial begins. This time, her lawyers drop the insanity defense and claim Gary is the one who killed Karen. To everyone's surprise, Gary agrees with them.
When they got Gary on the stand, he started yelling that Monique was innocent and that he was the one that committed the murder himself.
He's trying to cover for his sister. I think he felt guilt from the first trial, the fact that she now knew he was testifying and cooperating, and I think he felt guilty about it. So now he was doing the opposite. I'm just going to take full responsibility.
In November 2012, the jury returns its verdict.
Monique Lee was found guilty and sentenced to prison for life.
Because Gary Lee violated the terms of his plea agreement, his sentence is increased as well.
He ended up with a sentence of 65 to 100 years in the end, where he could have gotten a lot less time had he not lied. We believed, based on all of the evidence and when he was interviewed, how he was acting, that she had a hold on him. He was under her control.
But Monique ultimately serves only 2 months of her life sentence. In January 2013, she dies in a Nebraska prison.
We may never know what drove Monique to murder. She could have felt like the Jenkins family was doing so much to support her, and it could have felt like, for the first time, having a real functional family. And when the family got tired of being manipulated by Monique, they cut her off. Because Karen had finally put her foot down and wasn't...
I miss my son. His birthday is about to come up, which he would be 30, and it's hard. And he ain't gonna never walk through the door. It's like living it all over again.
The force of impact caused massive internal hemorrhaging and destroyed his organs from the inside.
Actions taken sometimes end up being a cycle. I do something to you, now you're gonna do something to me.
I believe that she put all the anger from every fight that her son ever had in his life, or every time he got beat up, into one person.
The cost of revenge in this case, I think, is beyond reckoning.
November 8, 2009. At 4 p.m., police in Elgin, Illinois, received multiple emergency calls from an apartment complex.
Our shift had just started, and the first of a series of 911 calls came in related to a hit and run involving a child. At least initially, that's how it was described.
Callers were frantically seeking help for a teenage boy who had been struck by a vehicle in the parking lot. Dispatchers can hear the chaos and commotion going on, and they immediately send emergency vehicles to the scene.
When they arrive, they find a young man lying on the ground, covered in blood.
There was at least 10 people, if not more, around the victim, screaming, yelling, trying to talk to the officers. And as the officers got there, they had to try to make sense of what happened, who did this, and get as much of this information out as fast as possible while also rendering any kind of first aid and help to the victim.
Residents identified the victim as 17-year-old John Keys, who lives in the building with his mother.
Paramedics realized that Keys' injuries are extremely severe, and he is rushed to Sherman Hospital.
Massive amount of damages to the inside of his body, to his organs, to his spine, to his pelvis area.
The severity of the impact becomes immediately clear. There's tire marks that are leading toward the point of impact. There's pieces of the car, there's headlight assemblies, bumper parts laying everywhere, and a large electrical box had been moved 5 inches off of its mooring.
Considering that the damage that was done on the building and the serious injuries suffered by the victim, you're talking a car maybe going 20, 30 miles an hour.
It's pretty obvious that Keys was struck with a tremendous amount of force.
John W. Keys III, known as Little John, was born in Chicago, Illinois on July 8, 1992. The youngest of 5 children raised by Dion Harris and John Keys Jr.
I was overwhelmed, joy, real excited, because he was my first boy, and I wanted a boy for many, many years.
We wound up with 4 girls, but at that point, we were
10, 11 months at the time, and we were playing hide and go seek, and I tried to hide from the seeker, and I jumped on John, and I broke his leg. So he was crawling around with the cast on his first birthday.
He used to drag that leg and go everywhere he needed to go, stairs and all. It did not stop him. Always running, always smiling. That's just how he was.
He was my boy. I just let him have his way. Whatever he wanted to do, whatever he wanted to go, he always got to do that. I'm gonna say that he was spoiled. He got more. So he had his own room and his own space and his own toys.
Little John's parents had been high school sweethearts, but after 16 years together, they'd begun to grow apart.
We was happy for a long time, but John's was out in the street a lot, so I wasn't happy with that.
I was a lot better father than I was husband, unfortunately. Between the womanizing and the running the street and stuff like that, she just pretty much got tired of it.
They eventually separated, and Dion took the children to live in nearby Elgin, Illinois. She officially filed for divorce in 2000.
I think Lil John was around 8 or 9 when she and I split up. Kind of hit him hard.
I felt like he was a little bit more hurt because he was the only boy and my dad was the only other man in the house. So when he left, he was like, I'm the man of the house. He didn't want to be like our little brother anymore. He just wants to be himself.
For Little John, being himself meant following in his father's footsteps.
He was always with me every other weekend. We had our classes here and there, but that was my best friend in the world. Me and Lil John was 2 peas in a pod.
When he started getting like to 7th grade, he started getting interested in young ladies. But I used to tell him that comes with a job. You're not old enough right now. I told him, how you have a girlfriend and you can't buy nothing or do anything for her. And he like, well, I'm gonna get a job and I'm gonna help you around the house. You can pay me to get something, to get a gift. He was a hustler. He knew how to get money. We rake lawns and shovel snow and things like that. He's a hustler, he's getting money, and he's doing it the right way.
By the time he was 17, Little John had more girlfriends than he knew what to do with.
A lot of girls liked him, you know, because he was a handsome dude.
He transformed himself into this guy that had money, and he had the persona, he had the clothes, the look, and so he said, no, I'm not Little John, I'm King Cash. I believe that the attention that my brother started to receive at such a young age definitely blew up his ego to the point where he's like, oh, well, all these girls like me? Well, I'm gonna make sure my hair's always cut and my clothes are always clean, shoes are always clean, and I'm gonna look good, and I'll get even more women.
But for Little John, more women meant trouble.
With the girls that like him, it's always a jealous boyfriend or a jealous ex, and he wasn't the type to back down. Even if he just had met the girl, he'd be like, she over here with me now.
Sometimes the other guys made it physical.
He would just beat him up, and he got suspended for it. I was like, well, he know how to fight. That's one thing his dad taught him, how to fight.
He was just like me. He didn't go around, he didn't start fights, but he didn't back down an inch. You know, if you brought it to him, he's gonna meet the challenge.
The constant fighting eventually got him expelled.
After you get into a certain amount of trouble at the regular schools, they'll send you to an alternative school. And so they sent my brother to Central because of the behavioral. They try to say he had behavioral issues. He only went maybe 2 weeks, and they called me from there. The principal was like, he don't need to be here. Do I have the money to take him to get the GED? Because he's too advanced to be here. He don't need what we teach him.
In late October 2009, Little John began making plans to move to Indianapolis to be with his father. and get his GED.
He called me and told me, Dad, I'm ready to come back down here. And we sat there on the phone and we made a plan about what was going to be done when he got back down there. You continue to get your GED. I'm going to help you find a job, and you're going to, things going to get better. He knew I was going to be his support group.
He definitely had dreams of going to college and getting some form of business degree, and he wanted to be a businessman.
Just 2 weeks later, those plans would be shattered. Now, Little John is clinging to life after being struck by a car, and police want to know why.
The witnesses are in shock, and the police officers have to try to gather more information so that we can find out who did this.
The callers didn't really know if this was intentional or accidental at the time. There's an immense pressure on them to find a person who did it.
Paint transfer from the vehicle at the point of impact. They also found tire tracks in the direction of the impact to show from the direction that the person was driving towards the victim.
One of the witnesses is a 17-year-old girl who tells investigators she watched the tragedy unfold from her apartment.
It was unseasonably warm, and the window was open at the time. The girl saw John Keys, also known as Little John, down in the parking lot.
She said that she had called out to him, he didn't hear her, but she continued to look out the window, and at that time she had observed a blue vehicle entering the area, and the vehicle proceeds right at Little John.
The blue car proceeds to jump a curb, hits Keys from behind, and sends him flying face and chest first into this electrical box and into the side of the apartment building.
And according to the witness, it quickly became clear it wasn't an accident.
The girl says the blue car backs up, and as Keys crumples to the ground, another green vehicle pulls up. She sees a woman get out of the blue car, but instead of going to check on Keys to make sure he's okay, she says, "Y'all mess him up," or something to that effect. At this point, men get out of the green vehicle, one of them carrying a baseball bat. The girl says one of the men went up to Keys, struck him on the head, and said, "Talk trash now."
The witness says when it was over, the assailants fled. At that point, she called 911.
A lot of times when someone witnesses a traumatic event, such thing that really shakes them, they can recall some details. But when you think about how this emotionally impacted the 17-year-old, I mean, here she is, she sees a friend of hers who is, at this point, she believes, severely injured.
Word of the tragic assault travels fast.
Lil John's girlfriend called me. She called and said, Lil John been hit by a car. And I'm like, what? And I was like, okay, I'm on my way. I beat them to Sherman Hospital. When I got there, they was pulling Lil John out of the ambulance.
Within moments, her worst fears are confirmed.
I knew there was no life in him. My mind went blank. I couldn't think. I only thought of one phone number. My friend Darlene, I called her phone and told her, Lil John gone. And she said, gone where? I said, he's gone. He passed away.
I was literally in traffic when I got the call that my brother was murdered, and I could not move. I physically was stuck in Chicago traffic, and there was nothing that I could do but scream, scream, yell, cry. And my aunt's right there, and I could tell she was trying to be, like strong, but she was crying too.
Little John's family gathers at the hospital.
Seeing my brother laid there, with just one drop of blood. He still had a smile on his face, so I don't know if he was running and laughing at the same time, but I could never get his face out of my head. Me and his girlfriend went in there and we both gave him a kiss on the forehead. And that was that.
Authorities are now investigating a homicide, and Little John's friends think they know one of the people responsible.
Detectives continued their neighborhood canvass, and they were able to determine that LaCorbic Binion did, in fact, hit John Keys with the baseball bat. Another witness recognizes the young man with the baseball bat.
John Keys was run over and beaten to death. A witness thinks she can identify one of the suspects involved. 16-year-old LaCorbic Binion.
LaCorbic Binion is another student at Larkin. We went to school together. Prior to everything that happened with my brother, he was okay. He was cool. We would speak in the hallways. He wasn't as outgoing as my brother, who would go talk to anybody and try to get any girl. I do not believe that they knew each other. Never hung out, didn't run in the same crowd.
According to the witness, Little John and LaCorbic crossed paths at the same party the night before. It didn't go well.
The story that I got from my brother, Lil John's girlfriend, was that my brother was dancing with a girl, and the girl was LaCorbic's girlfriend. And LaCorbic did not like that, and so he pushed my brother. My brother reacted and hit him in the face.
When my son called his balance, he walked up to him and hit him across the eye, and his eye started bleeding. And he was like, "Your girl asked to dance with me, what you pushing me for?" But when my son seen the blood, they said he took off running because there was so much blood, it scared him.
He wasn't trying to beat him or hurt him too bad. He pushed him, he hit him once, and that was that.
When investigators speak to Little John's family, they confirm the story. They say at the time, it didn't seem like anything to be concerned about.
11 or 12 at night, he was like, "Sis, they kicked me out the party." And I was like, "For what?" And he was like, "Cause I was dancing with this dude's girlfriend and he pushed me, so I hit him." And I was like, "You okay?" And he was just like, "Yeah, I'm good." He didn't seem like, "Oh, I just got into a world of mess" or anything like that. It was just basically a altercation between two teenage boys.
I just heard that he was at the party and the girl was dancing on him. The next day, he's dead.
If LaCorbic was the one with the bat, police need to find him, the others in the green car with him, and the driver of the blue car that hit Little John. Soon, Sergeant Trost's keen eye gives them their next good lead.
I was sitting at the Price Right liquor store gas station, and as I'm sitting there watching traffic going westbound, I heard this thump, 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 which sounded to me like a flat tire, and I see this older vehicle pulls right into the gas station.
The car is a blue 1991 Chrysler Imperial, and the damage to its front end immediately makes Sergeant Trost suspicious.
And I observed 3 people standing at the driver's side door of this vehicle. An older female, a younger female, and then a male juvenile. All 3 of them, I knew right away they had been through some sort of trauma at that point. I just didn't know exactly what it was. Now they start walking away. Instead of going into the gas station or even approaching me if they had a problem, they start walking away from me. And I exit my vehicle and I get out and I say that, hey, yeah, we just had a report of an accident up the street and I'd like to, talk to you. The other younger woman, probably about 19 or so, appeared to have some kind of injury, some facial injuries. So I requested an ambulance.
While they await the paramedics, Frost spots a harrowing detail on the car. According to witnesses, 2 vehicles were involved in the hit-and-run murder of little John Keys. The blue car that ran him over, and a green car carrying 16-year-old LaCorbic Binion, the boy who allegedly beat him. Police are still looking for LaCorbic. But after a traffic stop, the driver of the blue car has made a spontaneous confession.
With her comment to me, now I know that this changes more from just an initial stop to an actual criminal investigation that, can be quite serious. Because if I were to continue questioning her, I would have to ensure that I Mirandized her. So at this point, I didn't ask any questions of her. And I requested for an additional unit.
Wherever there's a murder investigation in Illinois, you have to have a videotaped interrogation of the murder suspect. It has to be videotaped. So, they needed to bring her back to the station to get her on tape, basically.
That doesn't stop the suspect from talking, however. She identifies herself as 33-year-old Tamara Branch.
She had overheard the radio content of having a show up witnesses come see the vehicle, etc. And she made a statement to the effect of, there's no reason for that, and again stated, I hit that boy and we'll let the judge sort it out.
Detectives looked into her background and history, and they didn't find that much. She was a mother of 3, lived in nearby Streamwood, and worked at a large department store. The only thing she had on her record were minor traffic offenses.
There was no violence in her background. It's what makes the investigation even more difficult, trying to understand why someone's going to do something like this.
Still not in the recorded interrogation, she offers a direct explanation.
She readily admitted that she ran down little John because her son, LaCorbic Binion, had been bullied by him.
Tamara told police officers that she believed that her son, LaCorbic, had been picked on and bullied at school. I think that she went after John Keys in an effort to pay him back for what he had done to her son LaCorbic the night before. And she was going to teach LaCorbic a lesson and how to stand up for himself.
And she even asked at one point, what would you do?
But as questioning heats up, she delivers a wildly abrupt change to her story.
After police began asking her questions about her front end damage, she claimed that it was from a previous incident. Police also questioned her about whether or not she knew John Keys, but she said she didn't. She also said that she was just in the area meeting somebody and had no idea where the blood came from on her front bumper.
In essence, she denied absolutely everything in the taped interview. She denied the incident between her son and little John that had occurred the night before also.
Watching the video of her in Elgin police custody, you could look at her and tell that she was making up stories. Oh, my car had already had an accident and it just stopped right there, so I was just gonna walk and leave it and go get somebody to help me come back and get it. She lied continuously, didn't drop a tear, no remorse, no nothing.
She probably realized how serious it was and began to try to minimize her role in the entire situation, just as a defense mechanism. But the physical evidence, the witnesses, everything was there.
Police arrest Tamara and charge her with first-degree murder. But without her confession, they'll need more to prove she did it.
Police at this point are just trying to shore up their evidence. But there's, plenty of other eyewitnesses and physical evidence, that's readily available.
Tamara's son, LaCorbic, is still nowhere to be found. The next day, on November 8th, investigators track down his girlfriend to see what she can tell them. When they get to the girl's house, they're met by her father instead. He assures them she had nothing to do with little John's death. And the reason he knows is because he was in the green car.
So at this party the night before, where John Keys had struck LaCorbic, LaCorbic's girlfriend was there. LaCorbic's girlfriend's parents got there, and the father ended up taking LaCorbic to the hospital.
On the way to the hospital, he overheard a conversation between LaCorbic and Tamara.
Tamara expressed frustration and anger. She stated that her son had been subject to continued bullying, and she felt that the time was now that he needed to stand up for himself against this.
Tamara told LaCorbic, I'm sick of you being a little B-word, and I'm going to teach you how to go in on somebody.
The investigation into the murder of little John Keys is only a few hours old, and police already have a suspect in custody, 33-year-old Tamara Branch. Now they're getting a clearer picture of what happened from one of the men who were there.
The father of Tamara's son's girlfriend stated Tamara was emotional, was upset, related to the fact that her son was being bullied and that this incident had occurred the night before where her son got injured by Little John.
So Sunday, she woke her son up to come and fight my child. She told her son, you ain't gonna be no punk. You gonna fight him today. You ain't gonna keep letting people bully you. The son didn't want to fight, but she forced him.
The father says he agreed to take LaCorbic to confront little John. 2 other boys came with them.
He stated Tamara found information about where Little John was, and that he agreed to go along to keep things from, in his words, from getting out of hand.
The man says he followed Tamara to Little John's apartment building, but when they got there, she decided to take matters into her own hands.
I don't think that Tamara probably planned to hit him with the car, to crush him with the car, until she saw him in that instant, decided that she was going to use her car as a weapon against John.
She had it in her head that her son was no longer going to take this, and she was going to be the person to show him, this is how you get revenge.
This is how she went to get payback for a teenage fistfight. This is how you respond.
But Tamara still wasn't satisfied. With little John unconscious and bleeding on the ground, she ordered her son to finish the job.
Tamara's son exits the vehicle with the baseball bat, and at the direction of Tamara, proceeds to strike Little John, who was clearly severely injured, with the baseball bat several times.
To hear that he got out afterwards to try to hit my brother's body at that point, I was furious. Because I knew this kid, and it's like, you don't have the balls yourself, and you thought that that was the moment that you needed to get back at him when he was already hit by a car and possibly dead.
After the incident, they immediately re-entered their vehicles and exited from the scene as fast as they could.
An autopsy confirms investigators' suspicions. Little John could not have survived his injuries from the crash, no matter what happened afterwards.
The Kane County coroner did their investigation related to this, and the findings included the fact that he had severe damage to his pelvic area, broken bones, and a severed major artery, which caused massive bleeding, which all proved to be fatal.
Regardless of what LaCorbic had done with the baseball bat at the scene, John Keys was, for all intents and purposes, dead at the scene. He was not going to make it. So there was absolutely nothing that LaCorbic did that would have changed, that would have made it worse.
Investigators are also able to obtain surveillance footage that shows the two vehicles leaving the scene.
Tamara got back in her car, backed it up, drove out of the parking lot, and drove down the street about a block to this gas station convenience store, all the while leaving a trail of automobile fluid, oil, antifreeze, that sort of thing along the road. You can see the damage to the front of the car. You can see the damage to the tire and wheel well.
Armed with this new witness statement and the evidence collected at the crime scene, prosecutors believe they have a strong enough case to go to trial.
Given the information that's available, it's very reasonable to conclude that Tamara had sought out where little John was, created a plan and how to deal with him, and set it into motion, which is, a cold and calculating conspiracy that she created here to go after this young boy.
4 months later, on March 23, 2010, a grand jury decides to indict LaCorbic Binion for first-degree murder.
LaCorbic had gone with some family members down to Arkansas and was no longer in the Elgin area by the time we got around to charging him.
He's arrested without incident in Arkansas and taken back to Illinois to face trial.
There were witnesses who said that he got out of the car and he had a bat. There were witnesses who said he then took a couple of swings at Jonathan. You can't just be out doing vigilanteism. Should LaCorbic have been struck the night before? No. But there's ways that needs to be handled by the police, by the judicial system. You don't do payback on your own.
Murder of little John Keys, 16-year-old LaCorbic Binion and his mother, Tamara Branch. Witnesses say it was a coordinated act of revenge for a fist fight between the two boys.
They said that the boy pushed him, and that's why he punched him. They like, yeah, LaCorbic had to go to the hospital, so that's why his mom came and ran him over. And I'm like confused, like, okay, your son got into a fight, and you come and run down a kid? Are you okay? Like, I couldn't wrap my head around that.
In August 2011, Tamara's trial finally begins.
In Illinois, you don't even need an intent to kill. If you just have an intent to cause them great bodily harm and what you do to them causes the death, you can be guilty of first-degree murder.
The witnesses in the other car with LaCorbic aren't charged with anything, but one of the passengers testifies to Tamara's state of mind.
He had overheard how Tamara was explaining how upset she was and how she was, in essence, fed up with the bullying that her son was receiving. She put together a group to go after this person. And ultimately what happened is she committed murder.
Tamara pleads not guilty and, in a surprising move, forgoes her right to a jury. Instead, she opts to leave her fate in the hands of the judge.
I think the defense strategy was pretty clear. They opted for a bench trial before Judge Alan Anderson in King County, and their main thrust was arguing that Branch was, she was guilty. Not of first-degree murder, but of second-degree murder.
She kept on the stand crying and saying like she just wanted people to stop messing with her son, but my brother didn't go to your school with your son. My brother didn't know your son, so the fact that you're trying to play like, oh, I just wanted to protect him, like, get that out of here. Like, no, you were upset because he got beat up and then you did what you wanted to do.
But prosecutors aren't buying her story.
It was clear to me that while she knew what she had done was wrong, that she did not want to accept legal responsibility for the acts that she had perpetrated upon John Keys by killing him in such a brutal and heinous way. Second-degree murder is when you commit first-degree murder, but you do it under a sudden and intense passion. Her son having been punched is not a serious provocation under Illinois law.
I believe that She put all the anger from every fight that her son ever had in his life or every time he got beat up into one person. And that just unfortunately happened to be my brother.
On November 9th, 2011, the judge finds Tamara guilty and sentences her to 34 years in prison.
I do not feel like that's justifiable. My brother could never come back. You know, he's gone for having a fight with your son. So that's nothing. I feel like you get more time for selling dope than murder. And that's just the way this world is.
30 years? Come on now, not enough time. I believe they should have been 50 plus, minimum 50.
The following year, in May of 2012, Tamara's son LeCorbic decides not to go to trial. Instead, he pleads guilty to a reduced charge.
The plea offer that we offered to LeCorbic, we offered to amend the charge to a conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, which is a lower charge, obviously, than first-degree murder.
As I get older, I had to put myself in his shoes as a 16-year-old kid, and your mom is telling you, go him up, go do it. I don't think I would have had the strength to deny my mom or tell her no. If that was what was happening at the time, I believe I would have did what my mom told me to do.
We also took into account the motive and who was the one who had instigated this crime, and that was definitely LeCorbic's mother, Tamara. And we also took into account LeCorbic's young age. So he was not the one that was the principal. He was kind of being pushed into this and really kind of being bullied into it by his mother at that point in time. We offered him to be sentenced to 15 years in prison. He was required to serve 7.5 years of that.
LeCorbic Binion was released after serving his sentence.
I was strolling through Facebook one day, and the people you may know, his picture, it just, the way it felt in my stomach, it just, like, I hurried up and blocked this so I could never see that again. Like, it just does something else to me that I didn't even know was there.
Tamara Branch is serving out her sentence at the Logan Correctional Center in Lincoln, Illinois. She is eligible for parole in 2043 at the age of 71.
As a parent myself, it hurts to see your child or your children suffer, and you want to protect them in any way you can, but cooler heads need to prevail, and violence does not solve anything, ever.
There's a man upstairs called God that I lean on him every day. And I just ask for strength to get me through it, but I hurt every day. I miss my son. His birthday is about to come up, which he would be 30. And it's hard.
Everybody loved Lil Jon, and it just really, really put a blackness in my heart that I have to deal with for the rest of my life. I think it's one of the stupidest things out here that a person can do, to go out there and seek revenge, because, well, number one, I'm a God-fearing man. The Lord says, vengeance is mine. And number two, in my case, I got 4 daughters just to watch over. You know, they don't have a brother no more.
The whole cycle is unfortunate because nobody really wins. Everybody winds up dead or hurt. And so I've learned to really stop and think before I act. Really, I mean, really stop and think.
Violence don't prove anything. Is this something you really want to do? What's gonna come behind it? Who's gonna be hurt behind it? What you lose? I mean, she hurt, she in jail, she can't see her kids. I'm hurt, I can't see my son no more. I got to go to the graveyard to see him.
Rest in heaven, brother. I miss you. I love you.
Đây là cái tay nắm cửa. Tay nắm cửa và khóa cửa. Oh my god. Ok, này là xong rồi. Đây nằm cửa.